don't know why. But we are going to actually talk about cards. So let's get started. My phone actually was being weird, and then I had to charge it, so that's why I had to end up being very. And I had just started having chest pain. So let's talk about cards. Okay, so let's first count, make sure I have 50 cards, then I will talk. So, uno momento, por favor. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 22, 23, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. Okay, guys, sorry. I have a hard time with my camera or my phone because my phone is actually plugged in. So here's the rules. Hold on. I gotta get my music. I gotta jam to something, otherwise I'm gonna be bored. Okay, guys. So here's the rules. So what you can do is you're gonna get a deck of cards, right? A pack of Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Now, a little loud. Sorry. Now, when you get a pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, you can get any. They're gonna have some newer ones out. We're gonna talk about those a little bit. So Yu-Gi-Oh kind of has changed a lot lately since the older days to now. And that's why a lot of people kind of have quit. Some people have quit playing, honestly, because they don't like the new rules or new things that have to be done in order to play, basically. So let's talk about that. Or well, let's get that part out of the way. Now the thing is, I'm going to show you guys something. I have 2 decks. Boom. Now, as you guys could probably tell, I was off screen for a sec here, and I'm sorry. Do forgive me. I have a tin here. And so, normally, for those who haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh, I'll show you. God, I have a pair of dice in here. Oops. That gets really annoying very quickly. So basically, your Yu-Gi-Oh cards are gonna look like this, not bent, which is kind of weird. Why this thing is bent, and it's stupid. I don't know why. I hate this thing. Okay, whatever. So anyway, this is what the back of your deck's gonna look like. Everyone should know what Yu-Gi-Oh looks like. So basically, this one. This one right here is a Link card. He's a cyber Link effect monster. So they have these kind of cards, basically, that you're having to play with. And I think the more you play with them, I think the more you're supposed to get used to how to deal with them. I don't know. I've never really played with these kind of monsters before. Here's the first one. Or the other one. Now, these are the newer ones that I've noticed. So these ones right here, that are the newer ones, that are actually Warrior Pendulum. So supposedly, when you're playing with these monsters, you can have this kind of thing. They're pendulum cards. I don't know what the heck they're all about, and these are... Sorry. These are the newish kind of cards that they want you to play with in a deck, typically. And so, sorry. And so typically when you're supposed to play with them, you're supposed to have, oh, I forgot, I have to give this one to the person I was going to give to. But basically, if you play with any of those pendulum cards, you kind of have to know what you're doing. Right? So basically, it doesn't do much if you don't know what you're doing. And if you do know what you're doing, then that's okay too. That's a good thing. So I don't have a big problem with actually doing certain cards, but these cards I don't know much about. So again, here's another link. Same monster, I think, actually. How many of these do I have? Oh my... Oh, no. Okay. The other one was a link spider. But yeah, this is kind of the same thing, a link card. So they have these cards, and I'm going through them, looking through them all here. And to be honest with you, how do you play with these is what I'm trying to figure out. Because you have to use... Oh, here's another one. I don't even know what the heck this one does. That's weird. Figured that out. Go figure. I don't think I have all the parts for that, though. I don't think I can make a deck out of that. Out of any of those cards, but... And see, here's another one. See, they have these cards, out of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. You gotta have, like, good knowledge of how to effectively use them. This fusion, I can remember using fusion a long time ago. Yeah, I remember actually using fusion a long time ago. And you had to use, like, a polymerization to use your fusion cards. Now, when you play with your fusion cards, you're mostly supposed to... So, and that's weird because here's what's wrong with today's Yu-Gi-Oh! See, and as I'm showing you, I'm not hoping you guys probably could have... I'm not hoping that it confuses you, but I'm hoping it doesn't confuse you, actually, but whatever. But I hope you guys can understand. I'm just right now explaining to you what I think is wrong with Yu-Gi-Oh! In today's society. So these are the kind of cards that you basically are working with in today. And basically today, you know, you still get the magic, trap, and spell cards, and you get all the other gravy of the cards, you know, that are here. But, you know, you get those cards like that, or like this, like I was showing you here. Like these two cards. Or then this one here. So you get like these three kind of cards. They're really weird. And they're set up weird. This is a ritual. And then you got this one that's... I think you could be either a magic trap or... Oh, it's a pendulum. Okay, never mind. So you got a pendulum, another pendulum. See, this is what I don't understand. Is like why in Yu-Gi-Oh! Today, they made the game so playable. And back like when I started, I had, and I'll show you my deck here. This is the deck that I used to go with when I played heavily. I played, but the deck that, you know, the things that you played with today are just so dang confusing. Like, why do you make pendulum cards? Why do you make cards so complex that you have to use more things and you have to do more things? And this is what I don't understand about, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! In today's society is that they make things so harder because they have rules. I understand there are rules to go with the game, but why do you talk about... Like, what is today really, like, how many kids are going to go out and today buy Yu-Gi-Oh? We're not going to have very many people on talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! See? Blah. But, I mean, I honestly don't see why I have all these Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Don't get me wrong, I collect them. But I don't mind having them. But I just don't like the fact that, I take out what I can use, basically, when I buy a new deck. Because I have to make it work that way. Because if I didn't, I couldn't, the cards of today just suck. Here, I'll show you more cards that I have. I'll show you my other deck that I'm using. Ooh, my gosh, I'm in a mess. See, this is what I'm using with today. So, I'm gonna start building a deck. Now, when you try to typically build a Yu-Gi-Oh deck, you're going to want a consistency of 50 cards. That's the minimum. The maximum is 60, if I'm correct. So I do want to have a trap card. See, this, and then I pick my monster, alright? And then I go for another monster, I'm going to build my deck as I talk to you guys, because I don't want to go through it. But the point is that you guys see, what's wrong with today's Yu-Gi-Oh game? Well, other than me talking about the fact that you end up having more rules, and they have more things that require you to do more things, it gets a lot It gets a lot more confusion. You use a lot of different things we're not used to. And today, I would say, Pendulum, and there is a field on there for the Pendulum cards, and I'm sure that the Pendulum cards, I don't think were very, very common card to have. But now the Pendulum cards are becoming a little more populated, and it makes it harder because you have to learn how to use the Pendulum card correctly. And if you don't use the Pendulum card correctly, then you could get in trouble. Basically, so what we're talking about is that, if you have a Pendulum card when you're playing, in order to make it work, you have to have the deck built around that Pendulum deck, or the cards that are Pendulum cards. And in Yu-Gi-Oh, back when I was playing, probably in about, I can't remember, 9 or 10 years old, I was playing a long time before that, though. But I played Yu-Gi-Oh for a long time, and I'm 27 now. So do the math. Okay, so 27. So the longest now that I've been playing this game, I've understood now that you didn't very often have the Pendulum card, and if you did, you would have to make sure that you had every deck that you owned that had a Pendulum card built to support it. If you didn't, then you basically would have yourself a bad situation of playing the game. And when I played, I had cards like, I'll show you my deck. I had cards like this one, Lightning Voltex. That card allowed me to discard one card from my hand and swipe off all my opponent's cards, and I could attack him directly. See, that was simple. I had Soul Exchange. This is actually the deck that I'm showing you right now, is my actual original deck from when I originally played when I was a kid. That's a long time that I've had this deck, okay? I've had, I'll show you my high card, though. This is my buddy, right here. This was my dude. This one right here was actually a new one that I got from a newer deck. But I added him in here because I wanted a 300 card. The only reason why I added him was because the 300 card was good. Because I know, I'm telling you that if you're going to have a deck, you're going to have to build your deck around the certain cards that you want to play with. Because my 300 card came from a kind of a new generation, I guess you would say. Yeah, new generation. I I wasn't really having to build a support around it because the newer generation card like this one, which I've probably never seen before till now, didn't require anything much other than it was a 300, which contributes to 3 or 4 tributes, I think. 3 tributes. Yeah, 3 tributes. So I have to do 3 tributes for him. So basically, in all honesty, I didn't really have to do much for this. Just slap him in my deck and he would fit in. So things like this, I can get away with using some of the newer cards that don't have the special, the effect where I have to tribute a certain name card. I can just, use it, and if I wanted to. But I'll show you my other guy. This is the original. I grew up using Time Wizard. There's 2 of them that I used. Time Wizard I used way before I had this one. So that's newer. But this guy I had when I was probably, I can't remember what age, when I got him. And when I got Time Wizard, I was pleased. Because Time Wizard, I remember, is an old card that Joey had. And originally, Joey owned that card, and because that card was so common, not a lot of people would, think of it as like, oh, it's a common card. Poo-poo. But that card actually now has a lot of worth to it. Because that card actually, because the newer cards now are taken over, so any older cards you have are going to be worth money. And that's where I'm wondering, should I trade them in? Should I? Nah. But I'm not going to. Trust me. I'll show you the one card the actual card that I have. This one you all might remember, a little blast from the past. My favorite dynamic duo, Red Ass Black Dragon. Hoo-yah. This guy. Now, I had him for a long time, and I swear to God, I probably could not remember what I traded for him, or how I acquired this guy. When I acquired him, I probably couldn't, I acquired him somehow, and miraculously, I still have him to this day. Even after I moved into my new home, I found him. And that's miraculous. But things like these cards right here, you probably couldn't use in the newer generation deck. You couldn't use in today's tournaments because they're old. And there are rules, I think, banning against you doing that. So supposedly you're supposed to have the newer. Honestly, really stupid because cards like these actually are still good. Excuse me. I would still do it with them. I would actually still use them. I wouldn't, I wouldn't trade, or I wouldn't want to do any cards that are link required or, I guess, pendulum required. Because I'm an old generation, as you can see. Like I said, I have Red Eyes Black Dragon. That's my old go-to card, ultimately. But now I threw in my 300, which kind of came from a newer deck. That kind of picked up the card a little bit higher, and so I thought, well, add that in. Because this 300 card, I threw it. Here's the reason why. Because, again, this is not a pendulum card. This card does not require any other card that is newer to be used or sacrificed or anything to be played for or with. I can throw that in and get away with it. So I did. And that's pretty good. That's a good thing to have. So the older generation cards are a lot nicer for me to play with. I could get away with doing math, or not math, but just doing the math of what, like the old days, what was what and who did to what at a certain amount of time. I did not worry about too much of trying to do that, then calculate, oh, I got the pendulum here that I got to sacrifice. I have too much going on in one time, and I think that's what happens with Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's what's going on right now with Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that there's too much going on with it. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Era has started to slowly, I think, fade. And Magic the Gathering, I don't even know if that's still in existence anymore. I know people who still play Magic the Gathering. I just don't even know if that's... I mean, the old day games, you guys would probably remember the old time games where you guys would sit there at lunch and you guys would play like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic the Gathering or Dungeons and Dragons for the nerds out there, for the really, really nerdy people, not unlike me. Those were the games I remember playing or being around. But today's generation is more like just not even close to that. And I think that's what's scariest because Yu-Gi-Oh! Has had that change so much in life. I think the life that it changed into was that nobody could ever, probably a long time ago, think of how bad it was, how far it was, how low it could, or it was going to decline from there to now. There it had a high peak of, I think, I'm trying to think, high peak of a lot of people doing it, and a lot of people watching it, the show, and a lot of people actually going into the tournament or buying cards. Like they would go into Fred Meyer's or their local stores, like Fred Meyer's, Walmart, Kmart, and they would look for them. And they would look for the cards, like the cards I have now, which are older and more wanted of today's generation. So, like I said, these Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that I have, I think they are worth a lot of money. If you have any old Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, I'm going to tell you now, save them. Because they're worth a lot of money. The newer cards today probably might be worth something in the near back burner future, maybe 4,900 years later, but not right now. So, like Red Eyes Black Dragon, and whoever just came in, don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you like my channel. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. I had, like me, I would go out there probably every time I had my allowance. And when I had my allowance, or not played, but I paid for any card that I could get. Even a pack, just the small pack, the ones that were in the tin foil. I'd pay whatever I could to get them, and I'd keep collecting and collecting. I would have like a huge mouthful. I used to have like a big black garbage bag full of them. And then I got rid of them because I started to realize, that my era of collecting was coming to the end, and I didn't think I would do it no more. I figured, I didn't think I would ever do this. I would do this now or ever again because it stopped. And so what happened was I ended up finding, my mom actually found, not this card, but my deck with my other stuff in it, the other part that I swapped around, but I used to make different decks. And she found it in the back, in the in my old room when I was living with my parents. They found it, and so my mom brought this here to me and said, "Hey, I got a surprise for you." Oh, what? Well, I'm on the way to come see you. And she came over and she found my deck. Now, I didn't have the sleeves on it. I bought the sleeves later, but she found the old deck, my old deck, and originally she found, whoa, holy crap. She found the original playing mat field. My original playing mat. And so what I did was I taped my playing mat on here so I could practice. And I was amazed. I didn't think I had any more left. I thought I got rid of them all. I didn't think that I saved any. And I looked through them, and I was amazed with how that deck was. It was used. And it didn't seem like I had much thought into, you know, maybe I really won't play again. But now that I found my old, you know, my mom found my old deck and I got my original playing board, maybe. I thought about it and I kept collecting. I already had some new cards, like I said, I collected my new cards. And I looked through. And when I was looking for a certain card, you know, I was looking through to see what I had, but there was one card that I was really looking for, and it was this guy. I wanted to make sure I didn't get rid of him. And when I came through and I saw him, my red eyes, excuse me, I found my red eyes, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I thought I got rid of him. I thought I got rid of my buddy. Red Eyes was my dude. He was my go-to card. And I had tears in my eyes, and my mom looked at me and smiled and said, aren't you happy I found him for you? And I just looked at her and said, yeah. Things like this, you guys. Oh, like that. Things like this are worth a lot more money when things like this become used in your childhood. You start to remember what you did. You probably won't remember what you traded. But you remember what you did. When you look through your old deck and you kind of realize, oh my God, this is really what I did when I was a child or when I was younger. You start to realize and be grateful for what you once were. You were the generation of the nerdy, of all nerds. You were pretty geeky. If you literally played Yu-Gi-Oh, you were a nerd. Let alone playing Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering. You were superior. You were the nerd. And I looked through my deck, and I kept looking through it and thinking, oh my God, this is just incredible. Holy shiitake mushrooms. And I kid you guys not, I literally looked through my deck, and I found that Red Eyes, and I was just... I cried. I literally cried. I'm not kidding, you guys. I literally cried. I had little tears in my eyes, just little tears in my eyes. And I just could not remember what I did to get him, but I got him. And when I saw him again, I felt relieved. I felt like my childhood has come back into play. Like my whole entire dream of wanting to become a good duelist has returned into my head. And I felt the spark of just do it. Don't try to question yourself. Do it. So from there on, I collected more cards, as you guys have already seen, and I collected more and more and more and more, and I wanted to get to the point where where I was going to be good at it. And you know, this card literally saved my butt a few times. This card, I'm not kidding. This card literally saved my butt when I wanted it. When I played it, it saved my butt. So Red Eyes saved my butt many times. And when I now look at it, I completely think, I did something, at least right. I didn't get rid of them. I did something right. I didn't get rid of the whole deck, actually. The whole entire deck of cards that I had, that I have here in front of me. Because I was originally going to get Red Eyes again. And I was originally going to try to get Blue Eyes, which I still have to. But I don't have Blue Eyes, but I'm going to. And when I decided that, okay, I have this deck already that I've pretty much think might be superior to my other deck that I have. I'm going to use the deck with Red Eyes, of course. And I'm just telling you guys this story because you should see that this is what basically hold on, guys. But this is, like I said, you guys, this is something that I did when I was a kid. And I think all of us could probably but I know about things like this. I know about it. Excuse me. And the whole point of this is that I actually did something right for once in my life. I actually collected and continued to keep something that I use or play with. Even though I don't use it so much, I actually play with it once in a while. And to be honest, you guys, this deck actually is not bad, pretty much. I mean, I've done a couple of duels so far with it, and I have to say, this is a fantastic deck. I've built it. I built it around what cards I had and what cards that I needed to use to make it better. And that's all part of building a Yu-Gi-Oh deck, basically. Just, look at what you have already and then see what other cards can help you or might be the same that you could use to make your deck better. And I did. And so far I'm pleased with. I'm not upset with it. I'm not unpleased with it. I'm amazed with it. Because I never thought that I would have something once and for all that that I could never be without. But that again goes to say that well, you got like 1,000 cards out there. Um, yeah, I'm looking through my deck. I don't know what to say, you guys. I am amazed, actually. Um, I have been asked, am I going to get rid of this guy? No. The only reason why, again, I'm not going to get rid of him is because I think he is the best of both sides for me to use, because I built my deck kind of around red and black dragon, and I'm going to use Time Wizard as the, because Joey has him. But anyway, you guys, I don't think I'm going to be on much longer because I'm not getting very many people, but I love you guys. I'm going to come back maybe later tonight. Peace.